I'm not broke, but I should probably act like I am. I haven't always made the best financial decisions, and at one point, I had 11 credit cards. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. I make much better choices now, and I'm going to tell you how I was able to get my financial life together. I'm going to tell you the 5 financial pillars and how I have applied them in the past and plan to apply them in the future. The first pillar is to have a rock solid budget. You can't really start the path to financial responsibility unless you have a valid and responsible budget. The basic premise of a budget is to balance money in and money out. So, that's pretty much common sense, right? You need to be bringing in more money than you're spending. And so budgeting is kind of the first step, the main thing you need to be able to see where you are currently and to determine where you can go moving forward. So in a budget, you have to make sure you are taking into account everything that you spend on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis. There are some things that we have that we don't necessarily have to pay month to month. There are some annual subscriptions to things, different kinds of fees and taxes that we may pay on an annual or semi-annual basis. For example, my license that I use professionally is due every 2 years. And so that's an expense that I wouldn't necessarily think of on a month-to-month basis until it was time for it to be paid. And if I didn't have a lot of discretionary income, then I wouldn't be able to pay when those lump sum amounts come up on the unusual time frames that they may be due. And so to have a budget means that you have to take into account everything that you would have to pay, including the things that may come on irregular intervals. Now, I don't like to make assumptions, and so when I say the words discretionary income, of course, I'm talking about the extra money that you have left over after you've covered all of your expenses. And if you're not budgeting for the irregular items, then you don't have a lot of discretionary income, when those items come due, you're not going to have the money and you'll have to end up robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that's never a good policy when it comes to your finances. And so having a budget that works for you is the first step. And I say that it needs to work for you because I could tell you a million methods of budgeting, but if they don't really work for you, you're not going to use them. And so your budget and your system needs to work in conjunction with how you already operate. So I wouldn't say to switch all the way over to a completely method of managing your money from what you're already doing. So if you tend to use cash, then there are cash budgeting methods. If you prefer to use apps on your phone, there are tons of apps that help with that. You may be a pencil and paper type of person, and obviously that's an option as well. So determining what method works for you is kind of necessary if it's going to be a system that you're actually going to use, and you'll need to be using this on a regular basis. I will talk in the future about some different methods of budgeting, and I'll tell you more about which method I'm going to use. The second pillar is to cut waste. So we waste things all the time, and we spend extra money for things that are convenient. So it is a lot faster to drive through the drive-thru at lunchtime instead of taking the time in advance to pack my lunch or prepare food that I can take for lunch. If I have to choose between actually going home and cooking or just grabbing something along the way, a lot of times we're going to grab the thing along the way because it's more convenient, it saves time, it saves energy, but it's going to cost more money. And so as you do your budget, you should be able to get a clear picture about where your money is actually going, and you should be able to determine some methods to be able to cut some of those expenses that are not necessary. So So when you're budgeting and you're thinking about what kinds of things need to be in there, obviously I want to account for everything that I'm going to spend. But if I can cut my food expenses in half by going to the grocery store, that's going to be a much better option, and it's going to allow me to save some of that money to then be able to apply it in other areas. The third pillar is maintain it. So we have things, and sometimes we don't take very good care of our things. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that if there is a problem and we ignore the problem either doesn't go away or it gets worse. And when we're talking about physical possessions, our home, our car, our physical health and well-being, if we don't maintain it, then we lose it. It will break, it will tear down, it will fail, and those things cost more money. So if I can put a little extra money into maintaining the things that I have and fixing problems when they come up, then I can save money in the long run. For my vehicle, there's a recommended maintenance schedule, and it's a lot cheaper to maintain the vehicle you have than to go and buy a new one. So whatever the things are that you have, take good care of them. And when problems come up, you deal with it when they come up. The fourth pillar is fix it. So things break all of the time, and even when we maintain the things that we have, we don't necessarily prevent them from breaking. Everything is going to break eventually. And so fixing things yourself is a good way to save money. Now, obviously, there are some things that you don't need to mess with. If you don't have the training or the ability to fix something, don't just go like messing around with stuff and then messing it up more. But there are lots of things that a reasonable person that's relatively intelligent and has the right tools would be able to fix on their own. So I have a philosophy myself. Obviously I could hire a professional, but DIY first. And I have a second channel that will be coming out soon, and I will share with you my journey of how I'm learning to fix things and make things on my own with my own two hands. And I find a lot of pride in that process. And there are lots of things that in general most of us can do on our own. A lot of times we have things that mess up with our clothes, our home, and a simple fix, you can find just about anything you need to know on YouTube. So if you can, be brave, try to fix it yourself, unless it's something like that actually requires a professional or a trained professional to be able to do. But a lot of times we underestimate ourselves. So I say be brave and try it. The fifth pillar is couponing. Now, I have to be honest, I used to do extreme couponing, but when the pandemic hit, I kind of slacked off on that. I've never completely stopped, but the method that I use has changed over time. And I have not been as into couponing as I was in the past. When I paid off these 11 credit cards, I was an extreme couponer at that point. And a good friend of mine said that couponing is the easiest way to give yourself a raise. And honestly, what is the coupon except cash in your pocket? You use it just like you would use cash. And if you can get something for a cheaper price, why not? One of the things that I would do when I was couponing is I would try to pair the coupon up with the store sales. And if I could combine a manufacturer's coupon with a store coupon together while it's on sale, I'm stocking up. I'm stocking up big time. And my stockpile has, it's kind of dwindled over time, but we're talking about since 2020. So that's been like 2 years. So I still have some of the things from that period of time when I was couponing. But now my method has switched more to the digital coupons at the stores. And so instead of the paper coupons, I've switched to the digital. But I think I'm going to get back into it because, stockpile is getting a little bit low, so we need to build it back up. But that is a great way to save money, is through couponing. And I don't just buy stuff because it's on sale or because I have a coupon. You know, I'm going to actually spend money on things that I'm going to use, because I'm not going to be wasteful. So all of these things kind of work in conjunction together, and if you implement all of them, then you should be in a much better place financially. Now, the other thing that we can think about in terms of finances is income. So if your budget is not balancing out, then you need to bring in more money, and that's always an option too. So if you're not able to cut your expenses anymore, you've cut them as far as you can, then you're still not balanced out. You need to bring in more income. So I'm going on a journey. We're going on an adventure. We're going to call this Adventure Money Mondays. And so I'm going to start a new series for finances, and I'm going to show you my process. I'm going to show you all of the things that I do, have done in the past, plan to do in the future to get my financial life together. And maybe you'll learn something. I don't know. We'll see. You know, hey, if you are like I was when I was younger, I had no clue. I mean, I'm the one who went to college and got a credit card for the first time because they offered me a free t-shirt. So, you know, I had no clue what I was doing. But, I mean, through trial and error and making many mistakes, I've learned a lot. And maybe you can learn from my mistakes, and so you don't have to repeat them. I don't know. Take from it whatever you will. But these are my 5 pillars of financial freedom. I did not make them up. However, I was doing them without knowing that that's what I was doing. So come back on Mondays, and I will be sharing more information with you about finances and the things that I've learned along the way. So if you like this content, if you need to learn more ways to get your life together, subscribe, hit the like button if you want to see more videos like this, and leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. As always, fear nothing, assume nothing, take nothing for granted. All right, y'all, go be great.